let's start with that idea of a dynasty in modern baseball. I think that there are various arguments that can be made about the Astros and the Giants in the 21st century. Now, I would probably argue against both of those personally, but one could make a reasonable claim that those are dynasties. Why do you think, though, it is so difficult nowadays to accomplish such a sustained run of success like the Yankees had in the late 90s?
Keeping the players together. First off, collecting the talent. I should start with that. Collecting the talent and then holding that together is really difficult. Not only because of finances, a lot of baseball fans will focus on that, but it's also about luck. It's about injuries. It's about players who, decide to depart. And it's about, I think, the competitive spirit of a group also holding together. That Yankee team that I covered in 1998, they had lost in the playoffs to the Cleveland Indians, and they came into 98 so motivated. They were just driven, and they had this incredible season. And then year after year after year after that, it got harder for that group of players to push the rock back up the hill. And I was standing on the field on Sunday with Dave Roberts, the Dodgers manager, and David Cohn was in this conversation. It was their Sunday night group. And Coney was talking about that, how it becomes harder for players to keep going through the same challenge year after year after year. And Dave was nodding. Like, I think the Dodgers can feel it. They have a great team. We projected them coming into the year. Maybe they could win 125 games. And Mookie's getting older, and Freddie Freeman's getting older, and injuries are manifesting, and all of a sudden they look a little older, and all the criticism that the Dodger players had about the Yankees defense last fall, now we're starting to see in the Dodgers a little bit. So holding that sort of dynasty where you're going to be in 5 World Series in 6 years, win 4 World Series in 5 years, that's really hard beyond the dollars.
And I'm so glad you bring up the Dodgers there, because that's the obvious place to kind of take this conversation. I do want to spin it back to the Yankees as to how they relate now, how they compare now to that time. But for the Dodgers, like after this offseason and these past 2 offseasons, even before they won again this past year, people are getting so far ahead of themselves and almost thinking like, oh, well, now they're just going to win the next 5 World Series. And like, this isn't fair. This is not fun for everybody else. And what my part is like, okay, maybe. I mean, the talent certainly suggests that they're going to at least be in position to do so. But it felt so premature to push that far ahead and be concerned that we are at a level to where this is going to turn fans off. But I also recognize that part of the conversation is not the actual result where the Dodgers win 5 World Series in a row. It's the perception that other teams don't have a chance to compete with them. Now, we've already seen already that the Padres and Giants and Diamondbacks they're right there, right? They're 3 of the best teams in baseball as well. But I guess when I spin it back as a question is like, do you view it like when are you surprised that we are now 25 years later and we haven't seen another repeat champion? Like, was there a point along the way where you realized like, oh, this is not something that we are going to see again for a very long time? Or do you think that there is a version that we could see a team get back to that level?
I think it's really tough for the reasons that I talked about. And I do wonder about the psychological effect on players. Again, going through the challenge, pushing the rock back up the hill year after year after year in this era of social media. I think it's clear that players get worn down by the constant feedback. Back in the 90s, those guys could finish a game and go home, and they were walled off around it from all that conversation. But now it's day after day after day, and I do think it takes a toll on players. I think the Dodgers, and I saw them in the first week of the season, on paper, that is the best team I've ever seen, right? The best collection of players. The idea that you could have 3 Hall of Famers at the top of your lineup and guys who are just extraordinary players, and then a rotation depth. When we met with Dave Roberts before that game, Coney asked Dave Roberts, like, we think your rotation's pretty good, but who are your next 5? That's really good too. And he starts out, he goes, well, we'll get Shohei back, and then Clayton Kershaw will come back. And then we started laughing because it's absurd how much depth they have. The bullpen is, as one general manager said to me, it's like a whole group of closers and how good they are. But it's that challenge of, not only overcoming injuries, but pushing the rock up the hill year after year after year. I just don't think anyone's going to replicate what those Yankee teams did.
Buster, I know you've got Sunday Night Baseball coming up. We got the Astros and the Padres. That is a spicy little interleague matchup. You'll be on the call with Carl Ravitch, Eduardo Perez, and David Cohn, three of our favorites. Thank you so much for joining us on Baseball Barbacast, providing us some context, some insight, and we'll have you on again soon. Thanks so much, Buster.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. It was fun.